I'll dream until I make it real, and all I see is.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Welcome to another Mentorship Monday. How is everybody doing? It's so good to see you. Good to see you, Maren. Always, always, always. How are you this week?
Oh, good to see you, Michelle. I am good. Okay, you would not believe this, and this is kind of reminding me of my dreams, but it is raining teeth over here. The tooth fairy is very.
Hallelujah.
That's right. My son he lost 3 teeth in 1 week, and then a few days later, a 4th tooth. So in a week and a half span, we have lost 4 teeth. So
Wow.
the tooth fairy has officially run out of money. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but like, I have to tell you the funniest story about it. So, the first tooth was lost, and my son, oh my God, he's so cute. He wrote like a little letter to the tooth fairy and was like, I love you so much. You're the best tooth fairy. Like, I can't wait, right back. Okay. And, hopefully they can't hear me.
Yeah.
But I was, so I told my husband, I'm like, this is you. I'm so tired. Like you got to do it. Okay. This was the first tooth. Woke up in the morning, the tooth fairy didn't come. Yeah.
Yeah. It's happened in my house before too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was like, what happened? He's like, I fell asleep. Sorry. So I was like, okay, you're fired. So it's been me, 4 teeth, just me.
Yeah.
So anyways, so the next night I get out of bed in the middle of the night and I'm like so tired and delusional. It's like, I don't know about you guys, and you're pretty far north, so I don't know how it affects you, but like daylight savings is horrible.
Yeah.
It doesn't get dark until like 10 o'clock.
I know. Same here.
And I'm used to going to bed at like 9 o'clock. And so when it doesn't even get dark until 10, then I feel like we're going to bed so late. And so anyways, yeah. So, what was I going to say? So I like get up in the middle of the night and I like put the money, behind the pillow, and I fill out the little, like, I'm sorry, I got caught up and lost or whatever, in my letter. And, I'm sorry I'm talking so quiet. I'm like really nervous that they can hear me.
Yeah.
But anyways, I forgot to take the tooth.
Oops. Well.
It's like she gave me money but didn't take my tooth. And I'm like, oh my God. So anyways, it disappeared and all is good. And then like literally the next night, he's like, oh, here's another tooth. And I'm like, oh my God.
Seeing all these chances, all these new chances to experiment.
Right. So that time the tooth fairy did a little bit better. Mm-hmm. But then the third night we were doing like a little family sleepover. So my husband was watching a game. So whenever there's like a late night game, we love to like just go watch a movie in bed, and they'll have like a little sleepover with me. And so we're like literally movie's over, lights are out, closing our eyes, and he goes, and then of course, we've watched a movie, so it's like, I'm so tired. And he goes, oh, another tooth came out. And I was like, what? Oh my God. I'm like, well, put it in the pillow. Yeah. And so now I'm like, shoot, like I can't set an alarm. I'm like, I can't depend on the husband. Like, what do I do? Like, I gotta like keep, I have to like stay awake longer than them. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So I was like, and I was so tired. Like, I remember thinking like after the movie was over, I was like, guys, we just have to go to bed. Like, please just shut your eyes. And then he was like, here's my tooth. So, as soon as I was like, okay, spirit, please like help me wake up in the middle of the night. Like the tooth fairy can't let him down again. Like I've gotta, Yeah. So anyways, so he writes his little note and puts the tooth under the bed or under his pillow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like this, don't fall asleep. Like my eyes, I'm like trying as hard as I can to keep them like, as like wide open as I can to like not fall asleep, I'm like, don't fall asleep. And, but of course I'm exhausted and I fall asleep. And I know, and I think I like got to the point where I was like, Spirit, just help me wake up. Like we've got to get the tooth in there, or we got to, the tooth fairy has to come. But if I'm going to fall asleep. So I fell asleep. I woke up like an hour later. This is crazy. I woke up an hour later to the sound of my son's voice outside of my ear saying, Mom, come check this out. And I was like, and I looked and there was no one there and like everyone was sleeping. And I was like, oh my God, I heard super loud outside of my head, Mom, come check this out. Or Mom, come look at this or something. And there was no one there. Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that interesting? So your son's voice projected to wake you up.
Yes.
That was a little tingle from Spirit.
So it was Spirit for sure, because I asked.
Yes.
It's weird that they used his voice.
Because that's what would wake you up.
Okay, that makes
Your
sense.
son's voice. A mom will always hear her child's voice in the night. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
No matter how tired.
It is so true.
Yeah. That's
so
cool.
Isn't that really cool? It did kind of make me like a little uneasy though, because I'm like, okay, I know like unless they are, it's like their higher soul or something helping me out. I don't know, but I'm like, how can a spirit use someone else's voice?
I do feel that it is connected to the higher self. But some people could get into, because there's all kinds of things that we could get into about projection of voices and what exactly is that, and is that mimicking, but you have to always go back to your intention and what it is that you asked for, right? You specifically asked to be woken up. And how do they project? Well, Spirit doesn't have a voice box. They actually project from our physical voice. They project from the plasma. I'm getting this like visual of the Ghostbusters like Slimer, the ectoplasm. they project from that meridian. They can project the voice. But I mean, how do we hear spirit voices in the first place? How do we hear a voice out in the ethers in the first place? And did you actually hear that physically or with your outer meridians, right? So you think it's the outside voice, but it's really only you that could hear that. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So we have outside meridians. So that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is so interesting. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, it was so cool. So the tooth fairy was able to,
Yay. Thank you, Spirit.
Yeah. Yes. That's what I said. I was like, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing though? Like, we talk about this a lot, but like when you ask for something, get ready. Like really.
Yeah.
When you ask for something, and that's why you want to be really clear about what you're asking for. But when you ask for help, you always go into those intentions. It is amazing the things that will happen. And things that we can't explain, but it happens. It happens all the time. And that is an amazing story and a good reminder for all of us to ask for a little assistance. I ask for those things all the time. Help me wake up on time. Help me, just little things with my schedule. I've said this so many times. I've got all of these things that I need to accomplish today. Help me manipulate my schedule in a way that I can do X, Y, and Z. And what's so interesting is it's in those kind of circumstances, you have to really let go of the control of it, of saying, well, I want this to happen at this time, and I need this to happen at this time. It's more of a, if you're asking them to step in, you got to let go of the control of it and just trust that what you need and what happens is for your highest good. And it will always turn out the way that you need it to. Always. I love that. That is the best experience. I just love that so much. And
I
the fact
know.
that so many teeth in 1 week, that
Oh
is
my God.
so interesting.
It's too many teeth. Yes.
It's
And
almost
then
comical.
I know. So then the fourth tooth, I was like, honey, you got to do it. I'm like, I'm spent. I can't. I'm
Like,
literally
I
like
tap out.
sleep
I tap
deprived.
out. Yeah.
Yes. I'm not used to like
Yeah.
staying awake. This plus I did a sleepover. The kids had a sleepover, and that
Yeah.
was an
Yeah.
ordeal.
Yeah.
So anyways, so this it was last night actually. I was like, you got to do it, honey. And so he was like, fine. And but just before his alarm went off, this is super weird. Just before his alarm went off, I like choked on my saliva while sleeping. Is that not weird? I like woke up choking. And then,
Interesting.
isn't it? And then I went and I did his tooth fairy stuff. And then as I was coming back to bed, my husband was waking up and I was like, I got it.
Yeah. Done. Done.
I know.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought like, is that a coincidence or is that,
No. No. No.
it's interesting.
Yeah. Definitely not a coincidence. There are no coincidences.
That's true. That is true.
If it's believed to be a coincidence, then it is information coming from somewhere that's not understood as of yet. But it's not a coincidence.
Like that.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that my dreams have become so interesting. I said a bit about this last week. I think we were talking about dreams, but the things that are happening in my dreams, and they don't all make sense. But I know in the beginning of my awakening, I had some pretty wild dreams, and then they would start to show up as signs in my physical reality. Well, I had this one dream this week that was really interesting. I won't get into the whole because it felt like it went on the whole night, but there's one part in particular where I was in this room and it kind of looked like a classroom, but it had a lot of you know what a courtroom looks like, and they often have a lot of wood, right?
Yeah.
Like wood tables and that. So it looked like that. It was very bright and white up top, and then kind of like a classroom with all these desks, but it was a lot of wood on the bottom, and I could see like I don't know what it said, but I could see a seal up on the wall of some sort,
Oh,
but I don't
okay.
remember. It had blue, it was kind of gold with some blue running through it. I don't remember what it said. I don't remember really picking up on that. But what I did pick up on is there was this man, and he was very flustered. And I felt like I needed to ask him questions. Like I felt like I was in his way, and I was trying to get his attention, and he was flustered. And there was all these papers, and he was going through all the papers, and he's kind of looking at me, and he had these glasses on, white hair. He was in a suit, kind of a dark gray suit. And I remember clearing my throat, like saying, like, I'm here. Like, and he looked
Right.
above all the papers and he's like, I'm busy. I'm busy. He kept saying like he was busy. And then he held up a sign and he put the sign in front of me. This is who I am. And the sign said Brahma. And I was like,
Drama.
Brahma, like Brahma, Brahma.
Okay.
And I remember being in my dream going, I have to remember that. I have to remember that. And my visual, like I zoomed in on the sign and like really soaked in the word. And then he showed it to me again. And the sign was white with black lettering. It was very clear. And I really looked at it, and then I woke up. So, of course, the first thing I did when I woke up was I Googled Brahma. I'm like, that's got to mean something. It's got to mean something. And so I wrote down, it's Hindu, the sacred creator god, is what it is. And I was like,
Drama is kind of okay.
yeah. So, no, I don't have a lot of, like, I dip my toes into different bits of information, really as my whole spiritual journey has gone along, as things pop up. as I'm led to something, I'll kind of dip my toes into it for a little bit of understanding. But what I'm finding, which is so interesting, is all these little pieces start to kind of pop up and they start to join together, even though I might not have sense. And what I'm speaking of is, I think in our earlier videos, I probably told you this, but I had a dream in the beginning of my awakening with some family members that had passed. We were all at a table, and there were some family members that had passed and a friend of mine, and there was this beautiful snake. And I drew a picture of her. I have a picture in one of my art books, and she had long dark hair, but she was this big golden snake, and she was sitting at the table on a chair, and she said, "My name is Shiva," right? And so when I was looking at Brahma, I was seeing how there was like a triangle of them, and it was Brahma, or the three gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So I just thought that was really interesting. I'm like, okay, there's
Wow.
something coming
Yeah.
together here. And
Yeah.
I don't pretend to understand it all, because this is my journey of discovery. This is part of
Yeah.
the process of what does it all mean, and I don't know what it all means. But what I will say is, what did that dream specifically mean to me? So in my meditation the next day, and I'll do my journaling and a bit of writing, and what came forward was that I was being brought to, and I feel this because I do feel this, often many people that have their sessions, there's always a theme. I talk about this a lot, a theme that comes up with people's sessions that resonates with me. There's always this, as we're doing a session, it could be a medium session, it could be a healing, it could be, doesn't matter what the work is, spirit will bring through messages for me through whatever is coming forward. And there's this common theme that seems to be occurring right now, and for myself as well, where we're at this threshold, where we're in this space of, no matter where you are in your journey, we're in this space of the door behind us is closed. The past is no longer part of our experience, our present experience. It has, in our healing journey, it has been, we have understood it. Maybe we're still working with letting go of some of it. No matter where it is, it's closed. It's a different chapter of our life. Yet in front of us, there is a new door that has appeared. And this new door is, we can feel, we have all of these feelings and these senses of what's behind this door, what we're about to step into. But we may not have the information or the experience, or it has not come into physicality as of yet. But we're getting all of these little pieces to show us where it's directing. So we're in a space of, we may have memory of the door behind us. We may have these bits and pieces that are coming in that we're trying to piece together. But right now is so important for us to just be present with ourselves and really work on what is flooded in. And as I'm saying this, the Brahma, the man with all of the papers and everything that was bothering him, was really reflecting myself and showing me, everything is going on, Michelle, everything is going on. And how about you get back to what you know to do? And I'll tell you, the next little bit that popped up as well is the Hermetic Principles, which is, of course, the first principle. I've written them down because I can't remember them. The principle of mentalism. And so the papers all over the place are everything that's going on. So as we've got this door in front of us, as we are about to step into this new chapter, we hold the key. No one else holds the key. There is not a
Mhm.
carrot dangling in front of us that says you have to get to this certain point before this door will open. We hold the key. So what is going on in our life right now? It may be a refining of, and getting back to our basics. It may be starting to refine the things that we have learned and really putting them into practice. Many of us are coming out of a very deep period of healing, and we're stepping into the world with a lot of new information and a new perspective. So it's really understanding this is the key, understanding where we are at and stepping out of all of the mental trying to figure out and really prioritizing what is important to us, letting go of these cords of attachment to all of these things where we think that we have to figure out and know, and how's it going to happen and how are we going to handle this, to really let go of all of these things and to be able to step through this door is really understanding ourselves and accepting where we are right now, because that is the alchemist, and it's taking wherever we are and transforming it into where we are headed, where we want to be. So it's a lot. It's a lot. That's just a condensed version of everything that's been pouring out of my head this week.
Yeah, I like it. So you're saying that because like when you have a goal or you have an idea for what you want for your life, it can become, or a way you want to live, it can become really like over like those papers. It can become so scattered and overwhelming. And where do you go? And kind of hectic and chaotic.
Yes.
But then if you follow these principles, then it'll help kind of guide you. Is that what you're saying?
Well, what came to me, because I consistently was getting it's just so weird, but I was getting these little I want to say little pops in my head about vibration and universal laws, and the Hermetic Principles came forward, and we were out for dinner last night, and on the wall, okay, in a it was kind of like a sports bar, okay, on the wall was a TV, and what was it playing? It was playing the laws of vibration, and I'm not kidding you, all these symbols coming across, and I'm like, every other TV is baseball and like all of these other different things. I'm not, and yet there's this one TV that I'm looking at. I nudged one of my daughters, and I'm like, do you see that? Do you see what's coming across the screen?
I feel like you should contact the owner and be like, do you know that that's playing? Because like part of me thinks it's like them trying to just introduce people to the, like we'll have sports on, but there's going to be one TV that's teaching you about life,
Yeah, like it was unbelievable. Like, I'm like, I couldn't believe it, and of course this is really what has been in my mind this week. And so what I thought is maybe we could talk a little bit about the Hermetic Principles. And I mean, this is a really basic understanding, but the thing is when I was looking through the universal laws, and in my understanding, I think what my hope is to be able to take these and help apply it in a way that's understood, to help apply it in a way that we're able to really take the meat and potatoes from it and really understand how we can apply it, because it is a lot of esoteric information. And from what I understand, this goes back to ancient Egypt, and it's so interesting because all of these the research that I've done, and you and I talked about this a little bit, is that all of these things play out in many different religions and many different schools of thought, which really does all come back to the same thing. Yeah. So, it's like having a piece of the truth everywhere, but we're all really taking the same thing. But of course, the understandings, the perceptions, those are what get changed and twisted and can be different, but we really are all doing the same thing. Yeah. There is one, and that's what it always comes back to, is as one mind. Yeah. So, did you want to go through that? We can maybe list some of those and see, because we do talk about this a lot in our videos. We talk about different aspects of this all the time. Yeah. Yeah, I would love that. Yeah. Okay. So, let me just open
and
up.
Then, maybe once you put your glasses on, maybe it was your glasses. There's like clinking going on.
Is there? Okay, I'm bracelet free. Huh. Maybe it was my glasses.
Yeah.
Let me move my glasses down. Okay, let me open my phone here. Okay. So I'll read this little bit. So this is actually just something that I looked up that I thought was a great way of explaining it. Just a little article here, but the Hermetic Principles. So the 7 principles are the foundation of Hermeticism, a branch of spiritual philosophy dating back as early as the 1st century AD. They were outlined by famed author, I'll see if I can say this right, Hermes Trismegistus. Okay, so maybe somebody else knows how to say this. Trismegistus, who believed to have written the Emerald Tablet in the Corpus Hermeticum, 2 highly influential ancient teachings. His work would go on to influence both ancient Greek and Egyptian cultures, with both adopting him as a god of wisdom. In Greece, he was Hermes. In Egypt, Thoth, or Thoth, however you want to say it. He was known in his time as a great master of the universe and is said to have lived for thousands of years. Over time, the 7 Hermetic Principles were passed down by word of mouth from teacher to student, and eventually one day in the early 20th century, the teachings were compiled into a book called the Kybalion, written by the 3 initiates. Today, they remain an occult source of wisdom, separate from any real religion, but powerful nonetheless. So this is this article's description of it.
It's really interesting that it's separate from religion. That is like kind of sacred in and of itself, right?
Yeah, yes.
Like,
yes.
Okay.
So here are the 7 principles. So we can just kind of, I'll give what their description is basically, and then we can stop and talk about anything that. So number 1, the principle of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. So the principle of mentalism states that the universe is akin to mental projection. So this we understand our thoughts. Everything has to first be a thought that then is part of the creation of our experience. So what we believe, and we talk about this all the time, what is the most important? What are your beliefs? Why do you think them? Why do you believe them?
Yeah.
Where do these thoughts come from? Are they even your thoughts to begin with? Are they the belief of where you were raised? Are they the belief of society? Are they the belief of somebody else's experiences? So that's why it's so important for us to understand and deconstruct. Why do I do what I do? Why do I think what I think?
Yeah. And
Because
thoughts create your reality.
Yes. Because being in alignment with ourselves is the most important thing that we can do. Being in alignment with our beliefs and being flexible enough to understand that those thoughts can change as you grow in consciousness, as you grow in understanding. Those thoughts change, and therefore we have the ability to not remain in the same cycles of experience. So this could be if we look at somebody that is happy in their life, they believe what they believe, they happy or unhappy, we'll say, but they do the same thing every day. They wake up, they have the same breakfast, they have the same habits, they do what they were raised to do, they do what their grandparents did, and so on and so on. And that's how they live their life. And yet you could have somebody right next door that is experiencing something completely different, a completely different experience, and yet they're existing in the same reality. So it's all based on thought. So expanding your experience, opening up and bringing new opportunities, reaching new opportunities comes from examination of the mental, of the thought, of the belief, so that we can then work to project a new reality for ourselves, to reach new places. Okay. So then the next one is number 2, the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. And this, I'm sure we've all seen this, as above, so below. I know that there are many times in my life that I would see that phrase or hear that and
Mm-hmm.
didn't really understand what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
I would want to understand it, but I can clearly
Mm-hmm.
remember a time of seeing that actually on a t-shirt on somebody
Yes.
and questioning to myself, what is that? What exactly is that?
I think
Right?
whenever somebody says it, I'm always like, yes, that makes sense. And like to whatever their, whatever their situation is. And then they'll say, oh, as above, so below. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But then, yeah, if you were to have me define that right now, I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah. So what it is it talks about our as above, so below, as within is without. So what we believe about ourselves, how we show up in the world, not only what is spoken out of our mouth, not meaning how we show others, because you got to remember there's a duality in all of us. And so what are the thoughts inside? What is the
Mm-hmm.
belief inside? What is going on the inside? It might be very different from what is being spoken, what is being done in front of others. What is going on within is what is being experienced without. And we could also get into parallel realities. We could go into what is happening in the physical, happens in the spiritual. What happens in the spiritual
Mm-hmm.
reflects what's happening in the physical. Talk about
Okay,
our dreams
so
today.
I might be wrong with this, but I'm saying this so that you can correct me if I'm wrong. So is it like as above, so below? Like, so what's in is out. Like if someone is projecting fear or hate, right? Or projecting hate, then truly inside there's fear kind of a thing. Is that what it is?
So
Or is it, oh, go ahead.
well, if so in that circumstance, so if somebody is projecting hate, if somebody believes like that that's the intentions of what they do, or they feel hate inside themselves, they feel hatred inside themselves, then that is the experience that comes back to them. That is
Oh,
what they
okay.
are experiencing on the outside. They will see that on the outside. But it also, so I'll just read what it says here. This law is about understanding your connection to the world around you, how you're showing up for yourself, the universe, through your thoughts, and subsequently your actions. So it's also saying the actions that may not be seen by others. Like law is law, universal law is law. So even though this is not something that may be seen, it is still it is still reacted from when we have a firm grasp on how we interact with life. And this is what I was just saying about the dreams. What happens in the physical happens in the spiritual. What happens in the conscious reflects in the subconscious, and they're right. So it's like in both worlds. If we're looking at it in that way, in a sense of duality, it's all connected. It is not one in itself. It is all connected. We can recognize and break patterns. So it's also understanding the patterns, the subconscious pattern. What is happening on autopilot? What is happening in the subconscious? So this is all part of the deep exploration of what's going on within, because what is going on within is also happening out here. So this is also part of understanding how we experience our reality.
Is it like, I might be the worst student ever. Is this like, I think about like anytime like a principle like makes sense or it's true, it can be like generalized so many ways. So like,
Yes.
Like from the tiniest cell to the biggest
Yes.
universe, like
Yes.
it
Yes.
still makes sense, like as above, so
That's right.
below kind of thing. Is that what it
Yes.
means? Like the
Yes.
truth is a truth
Yes.
in every level?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And there's so many let me just go back to there's something that I saw here. It explains the many planes of existence, including those of higher vibrational frequencies, and how they're all connected. So everything is connected. Exactly what you just said. Everything
Okay.
is connected. There is nothing that is meaningless. It's all
Okay.
connected. So the third one is the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. So understanding that absolutely everything is vibration. So when we talk about the vibes, it doesn't matter if we're talking about, hey, what's your vibe? That's not my vibe. It does not matter how we explain it. Everything is in motion. Even our reality and how we see everything is physical. We know that when science, so we continue to break it down and break it down and break it down, it is all moving molecules right down to the smallest atom. That everything is vibration, and that is how we interact with the universe, is through vibration. So what it says here is basic science tells us that atoms are in constant motion, as the universe itself. Even our hearts, as they beat, give off different vibrations depending on our emotional state. And when we are vibing high, we are able to avoid low-level frequencies that don't serve us. To apply this looks different for everyone. But to apply this, you do not only want to do things, but think thoughts that allow you to be in a state of ease where your body is. So vibrating at a more positive level. So all of these different principles all work within each other. So it's like looking at one big universal law with all of these little different aspects that really work together. So you might be noticing that all of these principles are deeply interwoven. So with this principle, we acknowledge that we have the power to control our vibration rather than our vibration controlling us. So when we speak of the mental, the as below or as above, so below, we think about all of these things. It's not only the understanding of these principles, it's how do we deconstruct how it's already existing in our life? How do we then deconstruct how we are showing up in our life with these principles? Because then once we have the awareness, we are then able to apply the vibrations or apply the thought, the feelings to a way that will support more of what we want to experience. And so I'll add one piece in here, because what's popping up is that question of, well, what if I feel low, or I can't get rid of these continuous thoughts? And that's when we get into the consistency of understanding what the source of these thoughts in the first place. Where do they come from? What is the root? What is the root, right?
So interesting. Okay.
It really is. So number 4, the principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike, the opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. And that is an excerpt from the Kabbalah. The principle of polarity explains that seemingly opposite things are actually one and the same at varying degrees. So when we look at temperature, right? So hot and cold, it's all temperature. One is not better than another, but yet we may feel more comfortable in one than another. So it's all talking about extremes. So take the hate you may feel for someone. Is there any way that you can shift it to feelings of love, for example? So hate being a lower vibration, which a lower vibration is going to bring down everything. So if we're feeling hate, how can we challenge and see another version of truth? So if we say hate is the cold frequency on the temperature scale, okay? So if we see that it's all emotion, it's all something that we feel, but can we take that and understand it? So understanding where that comes from. Why do we have that emotion? What is that connected to? So we can get into healing principles. So we go into our healing. Why? Why does this come up? What does this remind you of? Is this a person that you've even had contact with? Maybe it's reminding you of something else that you've experienced in your life, and this person represents that to you.
Yeah.
So can you then understand the bigger picture of something, and then remove that hate and have love for the experience of what you've learned through the vehicle of that person? And so no longer are you projecting hate, but you're now alchemizing and changing that hate to love. You're then changing that to a higher frequency.
So there's got to be some kind of like as above, so below thing, because the water takes me back to like science class, and it's all the same molecules, and one's just vibrating faster
Right.
than the other. That's
Right.
the only difference.
That's right. That's right.
So like I think about that and like what is that like thread, that connection? Like do you add heat to a
Right.
cold
Right.
relationship? Do you add
Right.
energy or like
Right.
excitement, some kind of like more interactions or
Right.
getting to know them, like more, how do you excite
Exactly.
the atoms to change the
That's right.
vibration to,
And
you know what I mean?
and so if we look at these universal laws, what can I do within the mental field? What can I
Mm-hmm.
do? So it's looking at the spiritual realms. It's looking at everything as a whole and understanding that nothing is separate. It is all connected. So it's
Mm-hmm.
using these principles to be able to go in and understand what can I do to change. So the water, what can I do to make the water turn to an ice cube? What can I do to take the ice cube and turn it to liquid? Again, what can I
Yeah.
do? What is within my control to
Yeah.
change these things?
Yeah.
And the
I think it's
results are
so
amazing.
Yeah, I think it's so important too to not like see people in boxes like, oh, this
Yes,
person is mean or this
yes,
person is unfair. But
yes.
like, I know a long time ago, I got a vision when I was thinking about like personalities, and I was like, man, it's like they didn't push that button for me. And I saw that it wasn't buttons, it's dials, right? Because everything is like one of the same. And so
Mm-hmm,
like the hate and the love is like a
mm-hmm,
dial
mm-hmm.
and not
Yes,
different.
right. And that's a good point that you bring up about, putting people in boxes, because we have to remember that, there may be a person that you understand at one point in your life that you have a perception of based on where they are and the perception that you have created about them based on that. So you put them in a box. Well, what is that really doing? It's not them that's in the box. It's your own perception that you put in a box, where you're not allowing yourself to view them as anything different. And then you could get into all the reasons of why that is. Why am I putting them in that? Am I protecting myself? Right? So it really gets into these deeper pieces, but these are all movable. And what it shows us is that we are not limited to one thing, that other people do not control how we feel. The
Yeah.
circumstances outside of us are not the telltale and the blame of what's going on within us. Even if things that occurred to us at a younger age or when we didn't have this information, once we have this information, and if this information is coming to you, that means you can do something. So once you have this information, you have the ability to transform it. And that is how your whole experience changes, because it's all
Yeah.
interwoven. This is geeking me out big time, because this is
Me
just
too,
the
because I feel
best.
like this is everything that we talk about, like
Yeah,
summed up.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Really nicely all summed up. So, okay, so in number 5 is the principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. And again, that's from the Kabbalah. So this is very closely related to the principle of polarity. And it states, between the opposing poles there exists an inherent rhythm. The tides that move in and out. We
Yeah.
inhale, we exhale. We go up, we go down. It's like the rising of emotion. So how often do we talk about the flow, right? There's a
Yeah.
time for rest, there's a time for action. So there is
Yeah.
always going to be a flow. And because there is polarity, and that's what this is talking about closely, the principle of polarity, when there is good or feelings of good, there will be feelings of not so good. That is a
Yeah.
part of the universal law of life. right? So
Or
it's
like with
understanding it.
manifestation, is it
Yes,
like you must give so that you can receive kind of a
yes,
thing, right? Like the
yes, like,
polarity and the rhythm.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. It allows us to recognize life and the universe's natural rhythms so that we can
Hmm.
actually work with them instead of against them. So if we think about, again, the mental state, if I am pushing and pushing and pushing to make something happen, I'm getting frustrated and it's not happening, well, there is a rhythm to when it's time to take action. And when it is a push, when there is so much resistance, that's not the time. It's time to be able to pull back. So it's understanding what is our natural rhythm and how is that working with the threads of everything around me and the universe. So it's very fascinating.
Wow.
So it says, know that nothing lasts forever and things are always, always ever changing. Like you always said, the one thing that will never change is change itself.
Yeah.
It is consistent and forever. So as you get deeper into working with this law, you'll be able to work with your own emotional state to avoid a dramatic pendulum swing of feeling. It is thought that eventually the master will be able to completely transcend duality. But if you're just getting started, try becoming more aware of your emotional state and using polarity and rhythm to start getting more comfortable with the natural fluxes of life.
Okay.
So that
I like
is
that.
yes, because that is the
Because
acceptance.
yes, and I feel like then that controls your vibrations, right? Like if you know, okay, this is the time to rest, or this is the time to save, or this is the, like you've
Yes,
got your abundance and then you're not abundance or what,
yes,
I don't know.
yes,
But like,
yes,
and
yes,
then you don't go into fear mode
yes,
and you go
yes,
into like, I'm okay, this is part of the flux.
yes.
Then you're going to fear mode so you can keep manifesting and attracting. But
That's right.
if you let the fear get in the way, then you've stopped.
That's
Because the
right.
way to
Then
manifestation is to not
that's
have
right.
fear, right? So you've got
Because
to,
because it's all your reactions, right? So
yeah,
it's understanding that there's a flow and this will only become a part of your experience in a more comfortable way by consistently working with it. Just being
yeah,
consistent with it and understanding it and learning how to understand your own momentum. But reactions are what creates that spike in energy and those blocks and resistance. So when
yeah,
there's a lot of pain and hurt and rejection and anger, so what that's doing to the vibration is it's creating these blockages, right? So it
hmm,
creates because of what? Because of the laws, because of laws of attraction, because of all of the things that we understand. It creates this, oh, okay, this is what they're putting out into the universe. Because there's never a time that you're not outputting. You're in your physical body, you're here living, you're consistently doing this. This is happening. So if
yeah,
you are going to a place of this isn't fair, this sucks, this is angry, and don't get me wrong, there is a time and place to be able to face those feelings and look at them and be okay with not liking what's happening. This doesn't mean
yeah,
to ignore your experience. This doesn't mean to
right,
override it. This means that I'm in acceptance that this is what's happening and I have this may be out of my control, but what can I control? Well, I can neutralize this energy. I can
yeah,
do many things that we've talked about before. I can use meditation. I can use journaling. I can use walking in nature. I can ground myself. I can do all of these things, all of these tools that I have to help neutralize the energy so that I am then putting in a reaction. So think of it like a computer. I'm putting in the reaction that is more neutral than this hard, spiky anger, which is then going to give me more of that to experience,
yeah,
right? So, which brings us to the next one, number 6, the principle of cause and effect. So, every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There may be planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. The Kabbalion. So, again, everything is connected through the principle of cause and effect. For each cause of one thing is merely the effect of something else. Going back to the very beginning. This is like we said,
It's like the
something
butterfly
happened.
effect, right?
Yes, yes. Everything that's existing has a root to it. And you could go
Yeah.
back and go back and go back and go back. But it's understanding, and that's why the healing process is about going back and going through. So the healing process is like, what's going on in my body? What are the reactions that are happening in my body? And getting into the root of where that is. So we talk about the chakras and everything, and then tracing that back to see the rhythm. So when I use my my illnesses that I had, when I use having cancer and understanding what took place in my body, the circumstances in my life, addiction, whatever I had experienced when I did not have the awareness. So when I look at those things, what I have done is gone back through my life, gone back through my experiences, and looked at my choices, my actions, my thoughts, my reactions, and then I could trace it all the way back to when I was very young, and then be able to see how this all transpired. How did I change my circumstances based on what I intuitively felt before I had the information? Just like when I got diagnosed with cancer, I came to a point of saying, okay, this is beyond my control. I can't do anything right now other than believe I'm going to be okay. I'm going to throw out
Mhm.
the internet. I'm going to throw out asking people if I'm going to live. I'm choosing to live right now in the present. I am okay right now in the present, and I'm going to turn this into a journey of understanding myself. And that came from no of any of this. I didn't understand any of this, but intuitively, I understood that there was something that I could do, and that was a surrender, a point of
Yeah.
surrender. So being able to go back into those things, and that's why even with the healing journey, it's difficult to go back into the things that we've experienced in our past. It's difficult to go back and say, wait a minute, I had a part to play in that. I did that, or I thought that, or I reacted that way. But it's okay, because that's how it teaches us. That's how we
Yeah.
understand. And that is necessary, because then we have all of this personal information. Our own healing journey is our map, because we can take all of that and then we can bring it into our present to continue to build this amazing, beautiful future that is not certain. Like nobody knows exactly what is happening. But when we do our very best with the information that we have, which feels right, then it's really more of um, a journey of adventure. It's a
Yeah.
different type of journey. The perspective has completely shifted. Everything has
Yeah.
changed, right? So everything is connected to the principle of cause and effect. For cause is one thing, merely the effect of something else, going back to the very beginning. Ask yourself, are you a cause or are you the effect? So basically saying, are you the reaction? So are you reactive? Everything that's happening to you, do you run to try and take control of the situation? To try and make it happen a certain way to avoid feeling discomfort? So it's
Mhm.
asking yourself, are you the cause? Are you the effect? The principle is all about acknowledging the effects of how our thoughts and behavior and how we may change them to bring about greater effects.
And yeah, to be mindful of adding, because everything you do is going to have an effect. So to make sure that they're going to be positive effects. And like, isn't there something, there's like some research about a smile, like how much when you smile at a stranger, like it snowballs into like a positive
Yes,
change.
yes,
And it's just the
yes,
tiniest little positive gesture that you can do
yes,
changes things so big
yes,
as that energy moves through the
yes,
universe.
yes. I'll
So
tell you
interesting.
really quickly, yesterday I did a little meditation. I had to go out and pick up a couple things, and I did a little meditation before I left. And it was an Archangel Raphael meditation. And what it was is asking Archangel Raphael to step into my energy and put this green light of abundance of positivity, of love, of healing, of everything. And it was so beautiful. It was just like me 2 minutes of doing this and just feeling the energy and just merging with that energy with Archangel Raphael. And so I went and got myself a coffee. First thing that I did, I went and got a coffee and pull up to find out the person before me just paid for my coffee, right? Immediately. Yeah. And I was like, wow. And I was like, this is what I've been really digging into deeper, is all of this work. So it's so amazing when you start to really play around with consciousness, the universal laws, to really see how it starts to show up in your life, how it shows up in the physical reality. When I'll read this little bit. When something doesn't go as planned or you find yourself unhappy, ask yourself, what was the cause? Many times we find ourselves reacting to the world around us, trapped in the back and forth of reacting to our circumstances rather than forging our own path. When we take action to get the effect that we want, we move from feeling like a victim to feeling empowered. And that is truly what it's all about. And that's a building of confidence through the practice of doing this, because then we're no longer subject or victim to the circumstances. We are creator. We are co-creating with the universe. Completely different experience. And the last one here is the principle of gender. Gender isn't everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. The seventh principle states that all things have a masculine and feminine quality. Yes, the two sexes can be thought of as physical manifestation of this principle, but as we are all coming to understand on an internal level, all of us hold both energies. So think of the left and right brain. The left being the masculine, the right being the feminine.
Well, I was thinking of all of our Kundalini energy, how that's like the merge of the masculine and the feminine. And that's like our life energy. Yeah. I have to tell you too, something really cool. Sorry, side note.
Okay.
You were saying this, and I'm like, man, this is just really, really incredible information, like taken from, ancient Egypt, like, so long ago. That Thoth guy, and then there was an orb right above your head, and I was like, oh my god, that's him.
Yeah, I feel the energy. It's interesting because when we start to get into these topics, you'll notice that our energy starts to shift. Can you feel it? Can you feel it start to shift? So as everybody's listening to this, as we start to get a little deeper into this information, you can feel the energy raising, because that's our intuition, our higher mind starting to lifting us to a higher dimensional space, because higher vibrational information that aligns with us. So maybe Toth or both or whatever. Sorry that I'm saying your name wrong. I don't know, but maybe he'll pop in and speak to us. I have had him come through in somebody's reading before, but I haven't had a lot of major interaction with him. But it says how to apply. I'm going to put my glasses back on because I can't read. How to apply with the laws of gender. Accept all parts of yourself and understand that balance in all is key for self-mastery. And my page just moved all on its own. That's interesting. Buddha called this the middle way. And it is all about the balance of masculine and feminine, of the heavenly and the earthbound, and the mind, body, and spirit. When we can achieve this balance within ourselves, we are well equipped to harness all of these principles and use them in our lives for good. And just at the end, it says, it sounds like it's a lot. Don't worry. These principles run very, very deep. It can take a long time to fully understand and embody them, but each time you come back, you will understand them on a deeper and deeper level. Because if you are listening to this, you are here to master your own life. And that is what's happening.
Yeah. Oh,
some good stuff.
I just love it. It just brings so much awareness to all the spiritual concepts that we talk about. And I think that's like what I've been struggling with. I think I know I've said this to you, Michelle. I don't know if I've said this like on the show, but
Mhm.
when people are like, well, what do you believe? And I'm like, because it's so big and
Yeah.
so vast. And I'm like, I
Mhm.
don't know how to sum this up,
Yeah.
and, but there we go. I got
Uh,
7 principles that I can be
That's
like,
right.
well, there's 7 principles I believe in.
Yep.
And they even kind of like went along with like, what was it, like the polarity one or, the rhythm one? I think maybe more the plural, but it kind of reminded me of like laws of attraction, and
Yeah.
like manifestation reminded me of the
Yeah.
vibration one. It just like all those laws all fit within these principles. So,
They do. And what I find interesting, because, if you're first starting to get into the law of attraction and starting to understand that, you're never going to be able to manifest something into your experience that is, say, you're an angry person in an angry state, and you're consciously trying to manifest a loving partner or something. You're not going to, say, bring in something into your life in the way that maybe you are wanting to bring in without going into these deeper layers, because the law of attraction is not just this I want and I write things down and I get. It's a deeper experience, and it really comes back to understanding ourselves. Know
yeah,
thyself.
yeah,
Understand what are your habits, what are your cycles, what do you believe, what and yes, you can change, because a lot of people say, well, this is the way it is, I don't see it any other way. If a person is willing to look at these things, and again, my husband says it the best way: everything looks like a big iceberg. It can look like this
yes,
big iceberg, but we have the ability to chip away at that iceberg. And life is moving whether we accept it or not. Life is moving and consistently manifesting. It is creating all the time. So wouldn't you want to be an intentional creator? Wouldn't you want to be able to say, wait a minute, I have all this valuable information now. How can I start to apply this in my life, no matter where you are? You just accept where you are. And the other piece of it is, when you're doing this work, one of the biggest practices is to quiet down and quiet the outside. Quiet
hmm,
all the beliefs on the outside so that you can really examine what you believe, what you want, where you're headed. Because when there is so much noise coming from the outside, it takes a lot of practice to be able to reintegrate with the world. And these things will help you, because as you build, as you practice, as your momentum builds more and more, the opinions of others, the beliefs of others, you love them where they're at. You allow everybody to be where they're at, but it no longer infects your existence. It no longer, you can take things in. So, for example, if it doesn't mean that things don't throw at you and say words or beliefs or something that's said to you, it might sting you or hurt you, but you can take that and say, oh, well, this is an opportunity. I feel a little something here. So this is an opportunity to check in and say, is there some truth to that for me? Is there something there that maybe I haven't seen or haven't looked at? And go down that little rabbit hole and figure that out and let it go. But at the end of the day, it's all within us to create the life that we deserve and that we
I
want.
love it. Well,
That
I
was a
know
good
these.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was amazing. That was so educational and yet inspiring. Like, I love it.
yeah.
So thank you for bringing forward the okay, what oh my gosh, what are these? These, I think I wrote it down.
The Hermetic Principles.
Hermetic. I don't think I
Yeah,
actually wrote down what these are. Hermetic principles.
yeah.
Okay.
Or universal laws. And I think I read somewhere that there's are 12 laws, that there are others. And I know this is kind of my side research right now that I'm kind of
Yeah.
working through
Yeah.
with the little flagships that keep coming in my dreams. So
Yeah.
I'll just
Fill
keep
us in with
following that.
more.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone, for sticking with us for this super important topic.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you tuning in every week, and we hope
Yes.
you have a wonderful, relaxing,
Wonderful
manifesting week.
Yes.
Wonderful
Yes.
week. Yes.
Go out and use these principles and tell us what you think about them or what you know
Yes.
about them, and maybe something that we missed. So
Yes.
leave a comment. Let's talk about it.
I love it.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
See you, everyone.
Bye. Have a great week.